She was a hard-working street hawker in Abuja, doing everything she could to keep two sick parents alive, when one small act of mercy changed her life. She shared her last naira with a quiet beggar on the street, not knowing he carried a truth that would turn her world upside down. Before we begin, tap like, hit subscribe if you're new, and stay to the end, because Ibrahim and Aisha's story will challenge what you think you know about love, dignity, and second chances. Dawn had barely broken, yet Abuja was already buzzing. Horns screamed as kiki and buses squeezed through impossible gaps. Hawkers called out prices for bread, fruit, and second-hand clothes. The air tasted of roasted corn and exhaust. In the middle of it all, a slim girl threaded through traffic with a bucket of sachet water on her head. Her name was Aisha, just 19. Every drop of sweat on her brow carried her family's hope. She walked like someone bearing more than water, the fragile future of two sick parents waiting in a distant village. Her father's cough worsened each day. Her mother's sight dimmed like a fading lamp. Aisha's tiny earnings were their only lifeline, but Abuja had no pity. At a red light, she darted forward. "Pure water! Pure water!" she cried, her voice cracking. A passenger leaned out, slapped a note into her hand, grabbed 2 sachets, then waved her off before the light turned green. The impatient driver lurched. She staggered, then steadied herself. She knew danger well, but hunger clawed at her belly. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. The 500 naira in her pocket had to cover food, transport, and what she planned to send home. Stepping off the tarred road onto the dusty edge of Wu's market, she whispered, "God, please keep me strong." The market stretched like a maze, bargaining voices, bleating goats, traders shouting. In the noise, she noticed someone she'd never seen. A man sat on the bare ground, his back against a cracked wall. His clothes were torn, his hair unkempt, his face tired with defeat. Unlike others who showed twisted limbs or blind eyes for pity, this man had 2 strong legs, 2 steady arms, and eyes that once must have been bright, but were now sunken and dull. As she passed, he lifted a hand weakly. "Sister, please, just small food." His voice was soft, almost ashamed. Aisha stopped. Something tugged at her heart. She looked at her bucket, half still unsold. If she stayed too long, she'd miss the evening rush at the bus park. If she spent her money, she might not eat tonight. Her stomach growled loudly, reminding her it had been almost 24 hours. She clenched her fist. "If I walk away, who will help him?" She slid a hand into her pocket and counted. 2 100 naira notes and a 50 naira note. Enough for roasted plantain and ground nut, her planned dinner. Her throat tightened. The man lowered his eyes, bracing for rejection. But Aisha surprised herself. She went to a roadside woman by the hot grill, paid 200 naira, and took 2 steaming plantains wrapped in old newspaper. She returned and crouched. "Take," she said simply. The man looked up fast, tears gathering. "For me?" "Yes. Eat." He took the food with trembling hands. His voice failed. He bowed his head and whispered, "Thank you." "May heaven bless you." Aisha shrugged. "No need to thank me. Just eat." She rose to leave, then paused. Pain sat in his eyes, deep, buried pain, the look of someone life had stripped bare. The market noise faded for a heartbeat. It was just them, a homeless water hawker and a stranger too proud to beg but too broken to stand. A shiver ran through her. She couldn't say why, but it felt like this meeting wasn't by chance. Something had begun. Something larger than hunger, bigger than the grind of Abuja streets. For a brief second she wondered, who is this man really? The light turned green, engines roared, and Abuja moved on as if nothing had shifted. But for Aisha, that hot day at Wu's market bent her path. The girl who thought she was helping a beggar had touched the life of someone who would one day rewrite her story. Days rolled by like restless Abuja traffic, and Aisha kept hustling. Morning after morning, she balanced her bucket and pushed through the chaos of Wu's, and sometimes the Garki bus stop. Since that strange moment, her eyes always drifted to the spot where the man sat. He was always there, as if waiting. She learned his name was Ibrahim. He never shouted like other beggars. He didn't chase people, cling to them, or curse when ignored. He sat quietly, eyes lowered, with a thin veil of dignity still clinging to him. One afternoon, she found him again at the market's edge. She'd sold only half her stock. Sweat soaked her dress. She sat beside him to rest her aching legs. "You again," he said with a faint smile. "The girl who bought me roasted plantain." "Don't remind me," she teased, rolling her eyes. "That was meant to be my dinner." He laughed, and for a moment it wasn't a beggar's laugh. It was steady, calm, the kind of voice you hear in boardrooms, not on bare ground. Aisha tilted her head. "You sound educated. Why sit here? Why not work?" His smile faded. He rubbed his palms together, eyes shadowed by memories. "I used to work. I had a good life once. House, car, respect. Then I lost everything. Job, friends, will to keep going. When depression gripped me, Abuja swallowed me." Aisha studied him. His hands weren't rough like most street men. His words were too polished. Something didn't add up. "Lost everything?" She pressed gently. "You're not old. You're not injured. You're strong. You can hawk like me." Ibrahim gave a small, bitter chuckle. "Hawk water? Me?" He paused, then said quietly, "But you've made it sound honorable." Aisha leaned closer. "It is honorable. Better than begging. At least you fight for your bread. Try it. Even 2 bags of pure water. Start small. People will laugh. They always do. But the world respects dignity more than shame." Her words struck him. He had once commanded many, yet a 19-year-old homeless girl spoke like a queen. That night, Ibrahim lay awake in his one-room shack near the swamp. The roof dripped when it rained. Mosquitoes hummed in his ears, but his mind wasn't on the discomfort. It was on Aisha. Who is this girl? Why didn't she take the easy road like so many? Why did she remind him of who he used to be? The next day, as Aisha passed with her bucket, Ibrahim called out, "If I decide to hawk, will you show me how?" She blinked, surprised. A slow smile spread across her face. "I'll even buy your first stock." 2 days later, with 500 naira she had painfully set aside, she placed 2 bags of pure water in his hands. "Start here. No shame, Ibrahim. Just sell," and he sold. Awkward at first, voice shaking as he called, "Pure water, 50 naira." Passers-by mocked, "Fine man like you, hawking? Chai, Abuja has finished you all." But Ibrahim swallowed every insult and kept his eyes on Aisha's encouraging smile. By evening, his 2 bags were finished. He handed Aisha the 800 naira he made, eyes bright with thanks. "I didn't know I could feel this alive again," he whispered. From that day, they moved together. Ibrahim walked beside her in traffic with his own bucket. They faced insults, scorching sun, and heavy Abuja rain side by side. Other hawkers began to talk about them. One wet evening, they huddled under a leaking kiosk roof. Aisha spoke softly. "Ibrahim, Tell me the truth. Who were you before this?" He paused, far away for a moment. "I was a man who believed money was everything. I chased it, drowned in it, and when it slipped away, I lost myself. But you're teaching me that life is bigger than a bank balance." Aisha didn't push. Her chest tightened with questions, but she sensed his secret was heavy. Another evening, Aisha let her guard down. They sat on a wooden bench, sweat drying on their clothes after the rush. "My parents are sick in the village," she murmured, tears slipping. "I send what I can. My father coughs blood at night. My mother can hardly see. I sleep on the streets, under bridges, sometimes in abandoned shops. If I stop, they won't make it." Ibrahim listened in silence, her words cutting deep. He had given up when life turned cruel, but this girl kept going. Quietly, he vowed, "One day, I'll change her life." For now, he wore rags, sold water, and let her believe he was just a fallen man. Still, Aisha couldn't shake the feeling there was more to him. His calm confidence, sharp mind, the way he carried himself. Even in torn clothes, something noble clung to him. Each day pulled her closer to an answer she couldn't yet name. The next week, Abuja traffic witnessed a strange pair. A 19-year-old girl with fire in her steps, and a man who once wore suits, now balancing a bucket like his life depended on it. Aisha called with rhythm, "Pure water! 50 naira, pure water!" Beside her, Ibrahim echoed, unsure at first. Pure water!" His voice cracked, drawing a few chuckles. From a bus window, a young man sneered, "Fine man like you, they sell water? Chai, poverty no get respect." Another voice laughed, "Madam, why you to disgrace him? He for be your customer, not your partner." Aisha spun, eyes fierce. "At least he's working. Better than begging or stealing. Whatin you they do to survive?" The passengers went quiet, then giggled nervously. Ibrahim stared at her in wonder. That evening, after the madness, they sat by the roadside and counted coins. Aisha spread wrinkled notes on her lap. "You sold everything," she teased. "Not bad for a beginner." Ibrahim chuckled. I felt alive. Strange, right? Just selling water, but the sweat on my head means more to me than those AC offices I used to sit in. Aisha frowned. AC offices? What do you mean? Ibrahim froze, then laughed it off. "I mean, before life humbled me." Aisha's doubt grew. He moved with too much ease. His hands lacked the roughness of long street struggle. His speech, his manners, none of it came from the gutter. She let it pass. Everyone carried a story. Days slipped into weeks. Together, they became a familiar sight across Utako. Rain or heat, they hustled. When the sun burned, they shared one sachet between them. When the clouds opened, they ducked under leaking kiosks and laughed at their own misery. One afternoon, near a busy bus stop, a man in a suit slowed and stared too long at Ibrahim. His eyes widened. "Wait, aren't you—" He stopped, shook his head, and hurried off. Aisha turned fast. "Aren't you who?" Ibrahim's face tightened. "Nobody. Mistaken identity." Aisha's heart thumped harder. Who was he, really? Their bond grew past hawking. Ibrahim began to shield her in the madness of the road. When drivers cursed, he stepped in front. When touts joked too far, he stood firm like a lion. One night after a long day, they bought cheap bread and hot akara with their small earnings. Under a flickering streetlight, they ate in silence until Aisha broke. Tears cut tracks down her dusty face. "My parents," she whispered, "what if they don't live long enough to see me again? I send money, but it's never enough. My father bleeds when he coughs. My mother's eyes, she barely sees me." Ibrahim's chest ached. He took her shaking hands. Aisha, your strength is worth more than gold. You're the richest person I've met, not in cash, in heart. She sobbed harder. I'm tired, Ibrahim. Tired of hunger, tired of pretending I'm strong. He pulled her close. For the first time in years, purpose beat in his chest. This girl had lit a fire in him. Deep inside, he made a vow. I won't let her suffer forever. One day, I'll show her who I am. But not yet. Not until she knows my heart, not my money. The next morning, as they hawked, a street boy rushed by and yanked at the small purse tied to Aisha's waist. Before she could shout, Ibrahim sprang forward. In a blink, he caught the boy's collar and twisted his arm. The crowd gasped. Leave her! Ibrahim thundered. It wasn't the voice of a beggar. It was firm, commanding, a voice used to being obeyed. The boy dropped the purse and ran. Aisha stared, stunned. For a moment, she didn't see a hawker at all. You're not ordinary, she whispered. Ibrahim met her eyes, breathing hard, then forced a weak smile. Desperation teaches strength. Aisha wasn't convinced. His grip, his stance, his authority, it all came too naturally. That night on her cardboard bed in an abandoned shop, her mind wouldn't rest. Who exactly is Ibrahim? A beggar, a broken man, or something else? She didn't know a truth was racing toward her that would shake her to the core. That week, rain hammered Abuja. Streets flooded, umbrellas flipped and sails crawled. Hawkers stood shivering, waiting for damp passengers to roll down windows. Aisha and Ibrahim pressed together under a crooked zinc kiosk, clothes soaked, buckets still half full. Aisha rubbed her arms. This rain fit finish us today. Ibrahim chuckled, warm despite the cold. At least it's not the sun frying our heads. Pick your poison. She laughed softly, eyes bright for a moment. It was rare, clean laughter. Ibrahim watched her, memorizing every look. Even in hardship, she carried a raw, unbreakable beauty. The sound faded into a heavy quiet. Rain drummed above them like a restless drum. Aisha, Ibrahim said suddenly, his voice lower than usual. She turned, searching his eyes. Yes? He swallowed. I need to say something. These past weeks, working with you, laughing with you, even starving with you, it changed me. You changed me. Aisha's chest tightened. Her fingers gripped the bucket rim. She sensed what was coming, and it scared her. Ibrahim didn't look away. I don't see you as just a friend anymore. I see the woman I want beside me. I love you. The words hung heavy, louder than the rain. Aisha blinked fast, throat dry. Love? She whispered, almost laughing. Look at us. We hawk water. I sleep in empty shops. You live in a swamp shack. Love is for people who can afford it. Ibrahim stepped closer, voice steady. No, love is for anyone brave enough to feel it. You gave me back my will when I threw it away. You see me, not my rags, not my shame. Me, if that isn't love, what is? Tears gathered, but she shook her head. Love doesn't buy medicine. Love doesn't feed my parents. Love doesn't pay hospital bills. He took her hands. Love gives strength to fight those battles together. Alone, you're drowning. Alone, I was already gone. Together, we can rise. Her breath hitched. A buried hope stirred. She wanted to believe, to fall into his arms and be seen. But fear chewed at her. What if you regret this tomorrow, she whispered. What if you wake up and don't want a girl like me, a homeless hawker with nothing? Ibrahim shook his head hard. Aisha, you are not shame. You are fire. I don't want anyone else. Her voice cracked. Maybe I can't promise love, but I can't deny what I feel when I'm with you. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's madness. She drew a shaky breath. Yes, I'll be your girl. Ibrahim's chest swelled. He held her tight. Rain poured, but in that embrace there was warmth and hope. Their bond bloomed quietly in Abuja's hardship. They walked side by side with buckets on their heads, stealing shy glances and small smiles. Other hawkers noticed. "So, you didn't fall in love with your partner?" one mocked. "Na love go feed una?" Aisha ignored them, but the words stuck. At night, she wondered if she'd been foolish. Can love live on empty stomachs? Can it survive poverty? Ibrahim seemed unbothered. He stood taller now, no longer shrinking like a beggar. When people laughed, he laughed louder. When they mocked, he squeezed her hand. But behind his smile, something brewed. Some nights, he muttered in his sleep about meetings, contracts, the board. Aisha never pushed, but questions gnawed at her. One evening, as they ate roasted corn by the roadside, she asked softly, "Ibrahim, who were you before all this?" He looked startled, then managed a faint, sad smile. "I was the man who thought money could buy joy. I had everything, then lost it. And when it was gone, I saw I had nothing real. But with you, I feel richer than I ever was." She wanted to believe him, yet unease lingered. It felt half told. Still, her heart was already tied. "Promise me something," she whispered. "No matter what happens, don't leave me." His jaw tightened. He knew his secret could change everything. He pulled her close. "I promise." The promise was warm, but fear still trembled in her chest. For weeks, their bond deepened. They hawked, they laughed, sometimes they wept under the harsh Abuja sky. To the world, they were two strugglers clinging to each other. To Aisha, he was more, a shield against the loneliness that had chased her since childhood. The world was not kind. One humid afternoon at Nyanya, a hawker sneered, "So you be wife of Beggar now? You think romance go feed your mama and papa?" Laughter rippled. Another added, "She fit follow rich men, but she dey carry bucket with man way suffer finish." The words burned. Aisha forced a smile, but shame pricked deep. She'd seen girls take the quick money, selling their bodies and sending cash home with ease. Meanwhile, she and Ibrahim sweated for bread. That evening, she sat on a wooden bench, head in her palms. Ibrahim studied her face. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, then let it out. "Sometimes I think I chose the hard road. If I went the easy way, maybe my parents wouldn't still suffer. Maybe I'd have enough to send home. Instead, I'm here, hawking, mocked every day." He'd expected this moment. He lifted her chin gently. "The easy path looks sweet, but it breaks the soul. You're strong because you refused it. Don't let their words measure you. The same people mocking today will one day greet you with respect. I promise." His certainty shook her doubts. Still, she asked, "What if we stay like this forever? What if love isn't enough?" He wanted to tell her everything, that he wasn't ordinary, that his rags hid more than she could imagine, but not yet. He needed to be sure her love was for him, not what he had. So he squeezed her hands. "Even if we remain like this, I'd rather be poor with you than rich with anyone else." Tears filled her eyes. She believed him, wanted to believe him, but the seed of doubt was planted. One evening at Garki Market, as they packed up, a sleek black SUV rolled to a stop. The tinted windows slid down. A man in a sharp suit stared at Ibrahim, stunned. "Wait, is that not—" He cut himself off, eyes wide. Ibrahim froze, then grabbed Aisha's hand. "Let's go." They pushed into the crowd, his grip like iron. When they finally stopped in a quiet alley, Aisha pulled free. Who was that? His face had gone pale. Nobody. He mistook me for someone else. Aisha's suspicion burned hotter. Mistook you? He looked like he knew you, Aisha said quietly. Ibrahim, who are you really? He stared at her for a long beat, chest rising and falling. Then he forced a thin smile that didn't touch his eyes. I told you I once had a life. Maybe he knew me then, but that man is gone. What's left is what you see. Unease tugged at Aisha, but she let it drop. Something in his gaze warned that digging would only deepen his wounds. Still, the shadows didn't lift. Some nights she woke to hear Ibrahim muttering in his sleep, the board, shareholders, contracts. Once she heard him whisper, my company, gone. She lay there listening, torn between love and fear. What are you hiding from me, Ibrahim? The talk in the market made it worse. That man no be ordinary, one hawker whispered. See the way he talk, the way he stand. He no be from street, another added. Maybe him be scammer. Maybe him dey run from police. Aisha snapped when she heard it, but the poison of doubt had already slipped into her heart. One evening, she confronted him again. They sat on a concrete slab by the swamp, legs dangling. Ibrahim, she said, voice shaking, if you're keeping something from me, tell me now. I don't care how ugly it is, just don't lie. He looked at her, eyes bright with unshed tears. For a moment, it seemed he would finally speak. His lips parted. Aisha, Then he stopped, forced a hollow laugh. All I'm hiding is shame. A man who fell too far, Aisha wanted to believe him. She wanted to hold on to the Ibrahim who loved her through hunger and mockery. But deep down, she felt it. His story wasn't finished. His past was too big to stay buried forever. And though she couldn't name it, she sensed their love was racing toward a truth that would shake her world. The morning sun climbed over Abuja, washing the noisy city in gold. But to Aisha, it felt unreal. After months of hawking side by side, after whispers and empty stomachs, she would walk down the aisle, not in grandeur, not in wealth, but in the quiet joy of marrying the man who stood with her through the storm. Her gown was borrowed, an old white dress from a neighbor. The lace was torn at the hem, the veil yellowed with age, but Aisha wore it with pride. Her heart pounded as she faced a cracked mirror. For the first time in years, she let herself smile without holding back. Outside the church, Ibrahim waited in a cheap black suit, bought second-hand in the market. His hair was neatly trimmed. His shoes were polished, though scuffed. To anyone watching, he was just a poor man marrying a poor girl. Behind his calm face, his heart slammed. Today, he thought, the truth must come out. The church was small, with about 100 people. Wooden benches creaked under curious hawkers, neighbors, market women, many there to gawk more than celebrate. So Beggar wan marry hawker, someone snickered. Another muttered, make we see how love go pay their rent. The pastor ignored the murmurs. His voice rose firm and solemn. We are gathered to witness these two who come before God and man to declare their love. Aisha's hands trembled as she stood at the altar, eyes fixed on Ibrahim. He looked back with a fire that made her chest flutter. Do you, Aisha, take Ibrahim to be your husband? The pastor asked. Her voice shook, but it was steady enough. Yes, I do. And you, Ibrahim? Wait. Gasps rippled through the hall. Ibrahim raised a hand, stopping the pastor mid-sentence. Aisha froze, panic surging. Was he backing out? He turned to the crowd. His voice was steady, heavy with truth. Before I take these vows, I must confess. For months, you've known me as Ibrahim the hawker, Ibrahim the beggar. That is not who I am. Whispers exploded. Wetin he dey talk? Confess, Wetin? He drew a breath. My real name is Kabir Adeyemi. I am not a beggar. I am not a hawker. I am a billionaire. Silence swallowed the room. Eyes flew open, mouths hung. Aisha staggered, gripping the altar to keep from falling. Her veil slipped, showing her tear-streaked face. What did you say? She whispered. Kabir turned to her, eyes wet. I hid who I was because I needed to know if love could live without money. I had everything, companies, houses, cars, but I lost faith in people. Too many smiled for what I owned, not who I was. So I disguised myself. I wanted to see if anyone would truly see me. He stepped closer, voice breaking. Then I met you, Aisha, a homeless girl who gave me her last 200 naira for roasted plantain. You gave me dignity when I had none. You loved the man, not the money. So today I stand here not as Ibrahim the hawker, but as Kabir Adeyemi, the billionaire who found his real treasure in you. The room erupted. Some clapped, some gasped, many simply stared. A woman shouted, "Hey, hen! Son a big man. We don't dey laugh him since. See Aisha, she go turn madam today." Aisha's knees trembled, tears poured. You're a billionaire? All this time? Kabir took her shaking hands. Yes, and I'm sorry for the lie. It was the only way to find the truth. Aisha, you are my truth. You are my miracle. Marry me for love, not money, because with you I found a wealth money can't buy. Her heart hammered. Anger, joy, shock, disbelief crashed inside her. For months, she had loved him in rags, defended him, shared roasted corn beneath a flickering light. And now, the man beside her wasn't fallen at all. He was one of the richest in the land. The pastor, still stunned, cleared his throat. Aisha, do you take this man, Kabir Adeyemi, as your husband? She locked eyes with him, searching through tears. Then, voice soft as rain, she said, "Yes, I do." Kabir pulled her into his arms as applause thundered. The pastor declared them a husband and wife, but the cheers were drowned by the roar of Aisha's racing heartbeat. Outside, a sleek line of black SUVs waited. Drivers in suits opened doors while bodyguards stood by. The same neighbors and hawkers who mocked her now rushed to shake her hand, their voices dripping with sudden respect. "Madam Aisha, congratulations." "No vex. We no say na big man you dey marry." She barely heard them. Her world had tilted. Her Ibrahim, the man who hawked through rain and heat, was a billionaire. Joy swelled, but fear whispered too. If he could hide this so long, what else didn't she know? Yet, as Kabir held her hand and guided her into the car, one truth hushed the doubt. He chose her in rags, not in riches, and that mattered most. The convoy rolled into Asokoro, Abuja's most exclusive district. Aisha sat frozen in the back seat, Kabir's fingers laced with hers. Wide-eyed, she stared at mansions rising on both sides, each one a monument to wealth she'd only seen in magazines. The scent of polished stone and freshly watered lawns hung in the air. Aisha whispered, afraid of her own voice, "Kabir, is this really your world?" He squeezed her hand gently. "Our world now. But remember, it's not the marble floors or tall gates that matter. It's what we do with it." The cars stopped at a sprawling Asokoro mansion. Uniformed staff lined the gate, the white building gleaming as its glass caught the setting sun. "Welcome home, sir," they chorused. Aisha stepped out on trembling legs. The same girl who once slept under bridges and fought for bread in traffic now stood before a palace. Tears blurred her sight. Kabir smiled, voice steady. "This is where you belong." The following week, Kabir kept his first promise. A private jet flew to the small village where Aisha's parents lived. For years, they had struggled on the little she sent. Now doctors lifted them aboard and cared for them with full attention. In a top hospital overseas, her father slowly regained strength. After surgery, her mother's fading eyes cleared. When her mother looked at her clearly for the first time in years, she gasped and cupped Aisha's face. "My child, I can see you again." They held each other and wept. Kabir stood by the door, wiping his own eyes. He had given them health, but truthfully, Aisha had given him life. Months passed, and her change surprised everyone. She was no longer the barefoot hawker weaving through traffic. She now wore simple, elegant gowns, spoke with calm grace, and walked with confidence beside her husband. Yet she never forgot where she came from. While others expected her to enjoy luxury and vanish, she did the opposite. She returned to the same road she once hawked on. She visited Ruz and Garki with food, clothing, and envelopes of cash. "Take," she told hawkers, pressing notes into their hands. "Don't give up. I was here too. The same people who once mocked her now bowed in awe." "Not true," they whispered. "Aisha don't turn madam, but she no forget us." Kabir and Aisha launched the Aisha Hope Foundation to help homeless youths, single mothers, and struggling families. What started small quickly grew and touched thousands. At the grand opening, journalists gathered and cameras flashed. "Mr. Adeyemi, why this foundation?" a reporter asked. Kabir drew Aisha close, voice firm. "Wealth means nothing if it can't heal others. My wife once gave her last 200 naira for roasted plantain when I was lost. That small kindness brought me back. This foundation is our way to multiply that kindness." Applause filled the hall. Aisha's eyes shone. She whispered, "Thank you for giving my small act such a big voice." Even with status, Aisha stayed humble. She often slipped away from dinners and fine events to sit with street children, sharing food and stories. One evening, under the bridge at Nyanya, she handed bread to hungry boys. "Auntie, why you they do this? You be madam now. You fit stay your big house?" one asked. Aisha smiled softly. "Because once I was you." At home, Kabir never stopped reminding her of her worth. One night on the balcony, looking over the lights of Abuja, he took her hands. "Aisha," he said, voice thick, "I've made millions, built companies, signed deals, owned houses. But nothing compares to the day you gave me roasted plantain. Nothing compares to the love you gave me in rags. You are my true treasure," her tears spilled. "And you are my miracle. You proved love is stronger than poverty, and dignity is worth more than gold." They held each other under the night sky. Years later, their story became legend in Abuja. Newspapers called it the Hawker's Miracle. Their faces appeared on billboards, not for show, but to support the foundation carrying hope across the nation. And whenever Aisha was asked what she learned, she always said the same thing: kindness is never wasted. The little you give may seem small, but it can save a life, restore dignity, and change destiny. I gave a stranger roasted plantain, and God gave me the world. Moral of the story: true kindness is never wasted. Aisha gave her last 200 naira to someone she didn't know, and it opened the door to her destiny. Money fades, looks deceive, but love, dignity, and compassion last. One small act can heal hearts, transform lives, and turn poverty into blessings beyond imagination. If this story touched you, tell us what you learned in the comments. Another powerful, life-changing story is coming in a few days. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. And if you felt this, please like the video and share it with your family and friends.